So here's a wild stat that should absolutely terrify you. Attention spans crashed from 2.5 minutes in 2004 down to just 47 seconds today. That's literally worse than a goldfish, which clocks in at 9 seconds. And kids watching Skibidi Toilet and similar brain rot content, they're getting hit even harder. The research coming out in 2024 and 2025 is legitimately scary. And if your kid's consuming this stuff daily, you need to understand what's happening inside their brain right now. This isn't helicopter parenting. This is documented cognitive damage showing up in real classrooms across the country. The data's about to blow your mind, and honestly, it should freak you out a bit. Let's break down exactly what these studies reveal about attention span collapse in children, because the numbers are way worse than most parents realize. We're talking measurable, testable differences in brain function that researchers can literally see on MRI scans. This is as real as it gets, and the implications for your kid's future are massive. The next few minutes might completely change how you think about screen time forever. Stick around because what I'm about to show you isn't opinion. It's peer-reviewed science that should make every parent rethink their device policies immediately. Look, the data's pretty clear on this. Multiple studies published throughout 2024 and 2025 show we lost about 68% of our focus ability in just 20 years. The average human attention span dropped from 12 seconds in 2000 down to 8.25 seconds by 2025, literally shorter than a goldfish. But here's where it gets really concerning for parents. When researchers tested actual screen-based attention, they found it plummeted from 150 seconds in 2004 to just 47 seconds now. That's a catastrophic decline in a single generation. And kids, they're getting absolutely hammered by this. Studies on children aged 2 to 8 show they're averaging 29.6 seconds of sustained attention during testing, with a 27% decline over the course of tasks. Compare that to young adults who clock in at 76 seconds, and you start seeing how bad this generation gap really is. What's causing this? Researchers point directly at short-form video content, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and yeah, Skibidi Toilet. Kids aged 8 to 12 are spending massive amounts of time on social media, with 92% actively consuming this content. The Skibidi Toilet series alone has racked up over 16 billion views and 41 million subscribers, with 65% of Gen Alpha kids with device access watching it regularly. And parents and teachers are seeing the real-world effects. Kids shouting random phrases, inability to focus on longer tasks, mental exhaustion, and emotional dysregulation. One teacher reported a student randomly yelling, "Skibidi Toilet," unprompted in class, the kind of random humor behavior that signals something's genuinely wrong with attention control. The connection between this content and cognitive decline isn't speculative. It's being documented in peer-reviewed medical journals right now. Schools across America are reporting unprecedented numbers of students who literally cannot sit through a 15-minute lesson without zoning out completely. Teachers are having to break down instruction into smaller and smaller chunks just to maintain any kind of engagement. We're watching an entire generation lose the ability to think deeply about anything, and it's happening faster than most people realize. The worst part? Most parents have no idea how severe this problem has become until they see their kids struggling with basic homework that should take 20 minutes but stretches into 2 hours because of constant distraction and inability to focus. This isn't normal developmental stuff. This is neurological damage that's measurable and testable. Every time there's an explosion, scene change, or rapid cut in these videos, the brain dumps a little dopamine hit. It's the same chemical response you get from sugar, from drugs, from anything your brain perceives as rewarding. And here's the problem. Your kid's brain is literally being trained to expect constant stimulation. Researchers studying short video addiction which is now an actual diagnostic category being studied, found that kids and teens consuming excessive short-form content show increased brain activity in areas linked to impulse control and emotional processing. And we're not talking small changes here. Brain imaging studies published in 2025 using structural MRI found actual measurable differences in gray matter volume in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, orbitofrontal cortex, and superior temporal gyrus of kids with high short video consumption. These are the exact brain regions responsible for cognitive control, impulse regulation, decision-making, visual processing, empathy, attention, and early reading skills. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is particularly critical because it regulates addictive behaviors, and researchers found its volume mediates the relationship between childhood trauma and video addiction symptoms. When this area gets impaired, kids literally lose the ability to regulate themselves. Another study on preschoolers aged 3 to 5 found that high screen time correlated with reduced cortical thickness and shallower sulcal depth, both established markers of disrupted brain development. The researchers could predict a child's developmental trajectory just by looking at their screen usage patterns. Dr. Gloria Mark, who's done extensive research on attention, found that it now takes 25 minutes to refocus after a digital interruption. Think about that for a second. If your kid's getting notifications, switching apps, or bouncing between videos every 30 seconds, they literally never achieve deep focus. They're stuck in this permanent state of surface-level attention that prevents any real learning or cognitive development. The dopamine mechanism is particularly insidious because it creates what researchers call a dopamine threshold. When kids engage in high-reward activities too often, their brain's threshold increases, meaning they need more and more stimulation to feel the same satisfaction. It's literally the same tolerance mechanism that happens with alcohol or drugs. So activities like homework, reading, playing with regular toys, these become unbearably boring because they don't trigger enough dopamine release to cross the now elevated threshold. Parents report their kids can't engage with anything that doesn't provide instant gratification. A 2024 study on mobile phone short video use found it negatively impacts attention through reduced executive control and diminished self-control. The researchers tracked how increased addiction tendency directly correlated with attention deficits that showed up in classroom performance. Another study specifically examining short video addiction found it linked to emotional dysregulation, diminished academic performance, and disrupted sleep patterns. The emotional neglect dimension proved particularly critical. Kids who felt emotionally neglected showed much higher addiction susceptibility. And this creates a vicious cycle. The more they watch, the worse their attention gets. The worse they perform academically, the worse they feel emotionally, the more they retreat into the videos for dopamine hits. The physical changes in the brain aren't reversible through wishful thinking either. Research shows that childhood screen exposure disrupts white matter development, the brain's communication infrastructure. Kids with high screen time before age 5 showed measurably lower microstructural integrity in brain white matter tracts, supporting language and literacy. These are foundational neural pathways that affect everything from reading comprehension to social interaction. Teachers across the country are reporting unprecedented attention problems in students. Kids can't sit through explanations, can't follow multi-step instructions, can't engage with material that requires sustained focus. The average presentation attention span is now just 8 minutes. After that, minds wander completely. For younger kids, developmental experts traditionally said to expect 2 to 3 minutes of attention per year of age, so a 5-year-old should manage 10-15 minutes. But current data shows kids losing focus far faster than that baseline. The research on Gen Z is particularly alarming. Their average attention span clocks in at just 8 seconds compared to 12 seconds for millennials, 20 seconds for baby boomers, and 25 seconds for the silent generation. Each generation is losing cognitive endurance at an accelerating rate, and we're seeing the effects compound. The average adult now spends only 10.5 minutes on any project before switching tasks. Multitasking reduces attention span by up to 40%, and heavy multi-screen users struggle massively to filter distractions. Your kids are growing up in an environment where sustained attention is becoming biologically difficult. The neurological impact extends beyond just attention too. Studies show excessive screen time in early childhood correlates with delayed language development, reduced social-emotional skills, and increased behavioral problems. Kids who spend more than 2 hours daily on screens show significantly lower scores on thinking and language tests. Some are showing signs that mirror ADHD symptoms, even though they don't have the actual disorder. It's screen-induced attention dysfunction that looks clinically identical to ADHD in testing scenarios. And the scary part, many pediatricians are now seeing kids as young as 3 and 4 who can't maintain eye contact, can't engage in back-and-forth conversation, and show diminished imaginative play, all directly linked to excessive screen exposure during critical developmental windows. The brain develops rapidly in the first 5 years of life, forming over 1 million neural connections per second. Screen time during this period literally alters the architecture of the developing brain in ways that may be permanent. What makes Skibidi Toilet and similar content particularly damaging is the rapid-fire editing style combined with absurdist humor that requires zero cognitive processing. Traditional cartoons at least had narrative structure, character development, and story arcs that engaged multiple brain regions. This new content is pure sensory overload with no redeeming educational or developmental value. It's engineered to be addictive, not educational. The algorithms feeding this content to kids are optimized for watch time, not child development. Every view, every second watched, trains the algorithm to serve more of the same, creating a feedback loop that parents struggle to break. Kids are being fed an endless stream of content designed to hijack their attention systems, and the tech companies profiting from this have zero incentive to stop. The research is unanimous. We're conducting an uncontrolled experiment on an entire generation's brains, and the early results are terrifying. So what does recovery look like? Real talk. This doesn't fix itself overnight. The good news is that dopamine thresholds reset relatively quickly when you reduce exposure, usually within just a few days of cutting back screens. After 3 days of significantly reduced screen time, regular activities start becoming engaging again. The brain recalibrates what it considers rewarding, but you've got to actually commit to the detox period, and that's where most parents fail. Research on effective intervention shows that comprehensive, parent-involved approaches work best. You can't just tell your kid to stop. You need structured replacement activities and family buy-in. Start by creating a distraction-free environment for homework and reading. Designate a specific quiet space with minimal sensory overload. Establish consistent daily routines so kids know when to expect focus time versus playtime. Use the Pomodoro technique, 25-minute work intervals followed by short breaks. This helps kids manage time and maintain concentration without feeling overwhelmed. Break larger tasks into smaller, manageable chunks. When kids see a project as a series of simple steps instead of one massive undertaking, they're more likely to stay engaged. Physical activity is absolutely critical for attention recovery. Regular outdoor play, sports, even just walking helps reset dopamine levels naturally and improves focus during subsequent study sessions. Nature walks specifically boost serotonin while lowering the dopamine threshold. Mindfulness practices like breathing exercises, guided meditation, yoga, and stretching can calm anxiety and rebuild sustained attention capacity. Diet matters too. Balanced nutrition with healthy fats and proteins supports cognitive function. Keep kids hydrated and ensure they're not hungry, tired, or emotionally distressed when asking them to focus. Visual schedules and timers can gamify focus for kids who respond to structure. A 7-minute timer to complete a task creates purpose and accomplishment that motivates initial focus, which then builds into sustained attention. Monitor for underlying issues like anxiety, sensory sensitivities, or emotional neglect that make kids more vulnerable to addiction patterns. Signs like excessive fidgeting, difficulty following instructions, and frequent distraction indicate you need targeted intervention. The research is clear that reducing screen time among preschoolers requires targeting parents' knowledge and attitudes through comprehensive approaches. You can't expect kids to self-regulate when their brains are literally wired for the dopamine hits. Make replacement activities as engaging as possible. Games, music, family interaction, creative projects. The goal is helping them find off-screen activities that feel as rewarding as their screen time. Family involvement is crucial here. If parents are scrolling through their phones while telling kids to put devices away, it creates resentment and undermines the message. Model the behavior you want to see. Have designated family screen-free times where everyone participates in non-digital activities together. Set clear boundaries and stick to them consistently. Kids need structure and predictability. If screen time rules change daily based on your mood or convenience, kids won't take them seriously. Create a written schedule that everyone can see and reference. Use parental controls and app timers to enforce limits when willpower fails. The technology exists to help you manage this. Use it. Here's your action plan. First, actually measure baseline. Time how long your kid can focus on a single task without distraction right now. Write it down. That's your starting point. Second, pick a start date for a 3-day reset and explain the plan to your kids. Make the list of replacement activities together so they have buy-in. Include outdoor time, games, books, music, family activities, anything engaging that doesn't involve screens. Third, create the physical environment for success. Set up a dedicated focus space with minimal distractions. Remove toys, phones, tablets from homework areas. Establish consistent routines for when screen time is allowed versus when it's focus time. Fourth, implement structured breaks and the Pomodoro technique. Don't expect marathon focus sessions. Build up gradually with timed intervals. Fifth, get serious about physical activity and outdoor time daily. This is non-negotiable for dopamine reset. Sixth, track progress weekly. Time focus ability again after 1 week, 2 weeks, a month. You should see measurable improvement if you're consistent. The research shows recovery is absolutely possible, but it requires parental involvement and environmental changes. Your kid's brain is plastic. It can rebuild healthy attention pathways, but only if you remove the source of damage and provide structured alternatives. The studies are unanimous. This generation's attention span collapse is reversible with intervention. The question is whether you're willing to do the work before the cognitive damage becomes permanent. Start today. Measure progress. Stay consistent and give their developing brains a fighting chance. The next few months will determine whether your kid can compete academically and professionally in a world that still rewards sustained focus. Make the choice that sets them up for success. Their future literally depends on the decisions you make right now about screen time and content consumption. Don't wait until the damage is irreversible. Act now while their brains are still developing and can recover. You've got the research, you've got the action plan. Now execute it.